The trial against Donald Trump in New York City is, of course, a farce, and it's already falling apart. A juror has been dismissed this morning over fears her identity would be made public. In fact, she was informed by friends and family that her identity was made public. And she said, then I can't be fair and balanced. So the judge has excused her. No juror, not a single one, will be fair. And this shows you exactly why. Because any juror who says Trump is not guilty will be found out by the press, and Antifa will try and destroy them, damaging property, harassing them. I call it low-scale terrorism because they know if they exceed certain boundaries that it'll become negative press and it can be bad for them. But if you just harass someone just enough, free speech, they say. Take a look at the guy who tried to kill the Kavanaugh family. They call it stochastic terrorism. Aside from this, the prosecutors are now saying, check this out. Prosecutors say Trump has violated the gag order 7 more times. This is already falling apart. Maybe that was Trump's plan, I guess. Here's a story from NBC News. Trump hush money trial judge scolds media after juror dismissed over identification fears. Proceedings in the first criminal trial of a former president are set to get back underway Thursday after a scheduled break Wednesday. 6 jurors have been selected so far. Now, 7 had been chosen, but of course, the system is breaking. Before we jump into the story, head over to timcast.com. Click join us to become a member of the website. $10 a month. You'll get access to our Discord server to hang out with like-minded individuals, and you can watch the Timcast IRL call-in uncensored show Monday through Thursday at 10 p.m. It's on the website, big library, and YouTube has basically told us we're going to be banned. Like, they didn't say it explicitly, but if you saw this the show last night, you get it. So become a member if you want to support our work. Big pushes now to build membership because, you know, if we get banned off YouTube, we'll have to make changes. But, you know, we need revenue. We need to be able to pay our employees and pay the staff that make the show operate. Jury selection resumed in former President Donald Trump's hush money trial in New York City after a break in action Wednesday. With several jurors already having been selected from a pool of 96, the schedule for Thursday will focus largely on questioning potential jurors in a second group of the same size to see whether they can be fair and impartial when it comes to Trump. The judge has said he hopes to have 12 jurors as well as alternates selected by the end of Friday. The proceedings began with one of the 7 jurors who had already been selected and sworn in, telling the judge she now had concerns that she could not be impartial. The juror, a nurse, said she had the change of heart after friends, colleagues, and family members asked her if she was a juror on the case. She was dismissed from the jury after telling the judge she did not believe she could let the outside influences not affect me in the courtroom. After she was dismissed, Judge Juan Merchan chided the media for reporting on some of the details of the jurors' appearances and places of work and ordered the press not to report prospective jurors' answers about where they currently work and used to work going forward. We just lost what would have been a good juror for the case because of such reporting, the judge said. Clearly not. A woman who said, wow, people might know I acquitted Trump. Nah, I'll make him guilty. Or what's the argument? That her friends and family found out and they were like, say Trump's not guilty. No, the reality is this. Every single one of these jurors is terrified. If anyone finds out they're on this trial, it's going to be a demand. Guilty, no matter what. We don't care if he is or isn't guilty. For democracy, you must be a fascist. The judge had previously ordered the jury to be kept anonymous because of safety concerns and said Thursday. Kind of defeats the purpose of an anonymous jury if people can easily be identified. And there is nothing you can do about it. Welcome to the internet. Prosecutors, meanwhile, said they now had questions about another of the jurors who had been sworn in. The person said in their questionnaire that neither he nor a family member had been accused of a crime, but Joshua Steinglass of the Manhattan DA's office discovered that somebody with the same name had been arrested in the 90s for tearing down political posters and was also involved in a corruption inquiry. The judge said they would question the juror when he returns to court. The DA's office also complained that Trump had been continuing to violate the gag order, barring him from trashing potential jurors and witnesses, with a series of posts on his social media platform, Truth Social. Since you signed the last order that we handed up on Monday, the defendant has violated the order 7 more times. Chris Conroy of the DA's office told the judge, adding, it's ridiculous. It has to stop. Trump attorney Emil Emil Bove, said some of the posts were responses to accusations by former Trump lawyer Michael Cohen, and others were simply reposting items by other people and news outlets, which Bove maintained is not prohibited by the gag order. The judges scheduled a hearing on Tuesday on the DA's motion to hold Trump in contempt, which would see Trump go to jail for 30 days. Following the back and forth with the lawyers, the judge ordered the new pool of 96 potential jurors to be brought into the courtroom. Trump remained seated when he and his lawyers were introduced by the judge, but his attorneys did stand. The former president had his eyes closed, and Merchan described the case to the assembled crowd. Let me pull up this quote and make sure I can get this, because one of the jurors called Trump the greatest president. Let's see. Do we have this one? Felt intimidated. Let me see if I can find this. I heard this yesterday or 2 days ago. I don't know if I can pull this up. No, I don't know if this is true. Apparently, there was a report that, let's try this. One of the jurors said they'd love to be a juror. Okay. No, I don't know. But that for the greatest president or something like that, I guess I can't find that. Let's just read more. I had heard that someone called him the greatest president but couldn't be on the trial or something like that. They say that prosecutors and lawyers for Trump will have less opportunity to dismiss potential jurors going forward because both used 6 of their 10 peremptory challenges Tuesday. While both sides can make an unlimited number of challenges for cause, it is up to the judge to decide whether to grant those challenges and strike those jurors. Merchan dismissed 2 jurors for cause Tuesday, one of whom had posted a lock him up message about Trump on Facebook, but he denied some other challenges. Trump bemoaned the number of challenges he can make Wednesday. Quote, I thought strikes were supposed to be unlimited when we were picking out our jury. I was then told we only had 10, not nearly enough, when we were supposedly given the second worst venue in the country. He wrote on his social media platform, Truth Social, before he blasted the case as election interference. Under New York law, defendants charged with lower level felonies like Trump are entitled to only 10 peremptory strikes. Peremptory, huh? The scheduled day off Wednesday followed some fireworks in the Manhattan courtroom where Merchan chided Trump for appearing to speak to one of the potential jurors who was being questioned about a Facebook post in which she had apparently celebrated Joe Biden's election victory. I won't tolerate that. I will not have any jurors intimidated in this courtroom. I want to make that crystal clear. Eventually, 7 jurors were sworn in. Of course, there was one who went home, immediately was identified as the juror by friends and family, and then said, I can't do this. What do you think the rest of these people are going to do? Now, there is an interesting case here. Politico reports 2 of the Trump jurors are lawyers. Would they acquit on a technicality? This is interesting. Now, certainly ideology plays a huge role. And if they're woke, they don't care what the law says. But if these are run-of-the-mill lawyers, they might actually just be like, he's not guilty on a technicality. They might be, there's no underlying crime. They might say, I'm a lawyer. I know what I'm talking about. They may put ego in front of everything else and say, I know better than all of you and what the DA is saying and the judge, I'm a lawyer. Or they could be Trump deranged. As if there weren't enough plot twists in Donald Trump's legal saga, they mentioned 2 lawyers will sit on the jury. That could be good news for Trump, according to some experts on juror behavior, especially if Trump's defense team plans to mount technical legal arguments to try and win an acquittal. They don't need legal arguments. There's no criminal case. The DA said there's some federal underlying crime that doesn't exist and no one knows what it is. What's the defense going to do? Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, there's no crime. We don't know what he's being charged with. They claim that he falsified business records. There's no evidence he did. It's a retainer payment. A DA could take literally any filing, call it false without proof and claim you committed a crime. There is no proof Trump falsified anything. There you go. So what does any of it matter? Lawyers are called for jury duty like anyone else, but they rarely serve as jurors. And it's totally uncommon to see 2 or more lawyers on a single jury, said trial consultant Charlie Morris. But of the 7 jurors so far, there is one civil litigator at a large white shoe law firm, and another is a corporate lawyer at a firm focused on startups and venture capital. 5 more jurors plus 6 alternates will be selected. Typically, prosecutors and defense lawyers alike try to keep lawyers off juries, fearing heightened scrutiny from members of their own profession. But in a Manhattan jury pool that is largely seen as unfavorable to the former president, Trump's legal team might see a silver lining. They're not emotional thinkers. The profession requires them to do analysis, and emotional thinkers get more easily swayed by the side that goes first. That tells a good story. There's no question that Manhattan prosecutors will tell a story that captures jurors' attentions. A tale featuring a porn star, a former Playboy bunny, a tabloid publisher, and the most famous person on earth. Trump's defense team may be hoping that lawyers will be more receptive than lay people to a focus on legal arguments and technical issues. I'm sure the team is going to have a story to tell in defense of Donald Trump. But if the story is going to involve a lot of technical issues and possibly legal issues involving the jury and things like that, then you might want someone who is going to take a more highly technical view of the case. I mean, I'd approach it very simply, to be honest. I'd say they have claimed Donald Trump was trying to silence a porn star who was trying to make him look bad. They claim that Michael Cohen paid her off. Trump then reimbursed Michael Cohen and listed the payoff as a legal expense. That's false. This is a felony because he was trying to cover up another crime. Another crime, no one knows. What is it? On that grounds alone, it's an acquittal. If they wanted to bring a misdemeanor charge, perhaps we could argue what their evidence was as to whether Trump lied or not. But whether Trump lied or not is not at question. Certainly, we would argue he didn't. He literally just paid a retainer fee to a now, convicted criminal. And as far as Trump knew, here's a guy who just said, here's my legal bills for the month. And Trump said, sure, whatever, having no idea what Michael Cohen was doing in the nitty gritty. Many people, especially those on the jury who have lawyers or who may be lawyers, know that the client doesn't go through the nitty gritty of what the lawyer's doing all day. In fact, law firms will bring associates on. You'll call a law firm and say, here's my problem. They'll say, we'll get an associate to handle it because it's hundreds of dollars per hour. They then send you a bill and say, problem's taken care of. We filed it. How are you supposed to know? Any one of you in the jury, any one of these jurors could pay a bill and DA Bragg could then come up and say you lied about what the bill was for. And you could be clueless. I have no idea what you're talking about. Doesn't matter. You'll find yourself having to shell out millions of dollars and spend nearly 2 months in court. Ridiculous. But let's get to the heart of the matter. What is the underlying felony, the underlying crime that advances this case to a felony? There isn't one. So how do we even make an argument? How do you even argue Trump committed a crime when we don't even know what the crime is the state is alleging? Trump falsified business records in furtherance of another crime. That's the felony. What other crime? How could you say he did without telling us what the crime is? How could a defense team put forward a legal defense for something the DA doesn't even know? There's no crime. So it's an acquittal by default. Thank you and have a nice day. Sorry for wasting your time. But of course, it's Manhattan. He'll probably get convicted. So we'll see. It's already falling apart. I'll leave it there. Next segment's coming up at 6 p.m. on this channel. Thanks for hanging out. We'll see you all then.